Hello. So I read 8 books this past week. So let's talk about. First up, I read The Waking Dark by Robin Wasserman. This is an arc. It came out in 2013. But this is the book. It's about this town where one day a whole bunch of people just like go nuts and start and like kill each other. And only one of the people, and then they immediately go try and kill themselves. The only person who doesn't end up killing themselves is this teenage girl. And she is, whisked away to be put in prison or a mental facility. And so then about a year later, I think it is, there's something else that starts happening again. It starts getting violent again. There's this massive storm, and then suddenly the town's under quarantine. It was fun. It took me a little bit to get into it, but once I was into it, I was pretty much into it. I liked the characters. I do think it's really funny. This is from that really specific stage in YA, or on the back, one of the characters, it is West, the golden boy, at war with himself. And when it's 2013, that just means that West is gay. And he is. That's just what that means at this point in YA literature. But no, it was fun. It was good. It was dark. There was definitely a dark aspect to it. This is like a hyper religious situation. There was lots of death. Some major characters died. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a good time. Then I read in manga. I read volume 2 of The Flowers of Evil by Shuzo Oshimi. This one isn't like quite as much as the first one, but it was still good. But this follows. This is apparently a semi-biographical, autobiographical, work about this, like, I think he's a middle schooler, who ends up, he's like obsessed with The Flowers of Evil by Charles Baudelaire, and he is in love with this very like sweet, nice girl in his class. But there's this kind of disturbing other girl who catches him doing something he shouldn't be doing, and then just starts blackmailing him. The art is decent. It's pretty average for the time. This author also wrote Happiness, which I have the first volume of. I have a couple of volumes of it. I've read the first volume. But yeah, no, I enjoy it. I think it's an interesting series. It's kind of pun-esque, which is like my favorite manga. So that's hard to beat. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read 3 of my 5th grade groups finished the book they were reading. So first up, in one of my middle groups, they read The Hideout by Peg Carrot. This is about a boy whose parents die in a mass shooting, and then he is on a train to go live with his uncle in Chicago, and the train derails, and he ends up like, you know what, I'm just gonna go live in the wilderness for a while because I just can't deal with this right now, and he ends up finding a bear poaching ring. So there's a lot going on. But no, it was decent. It was a decent book. Lots of bears in the wilderness books I've read with a lot of 5th graders this year. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then my high group, the lowest reading level in this group is, I think, at like a 7th grade level, maybe high 6th grade level, is Loser by Jerry Spinelli. They read Loser, which is about this kid who is just a little bit too much, and he ends up like he's not very good at school, and he really wants to make friends, but he's just a little bit off. He's just a little bit too much. He's not very athletic, and it's just kind of about how he ends up this isn't good socially for him, and as he gets older, it gets really kind of rough. And it was okay. I know this is a book that, when I was teaching high school English, the teacher that taught high school English for me used this for 7th graders. And I think it's definitely worth a read. I gave it, I think, again, 3 out of 5 stars. Spinelli, like, he writes a lot, and he's like definitely like a children's classic author for a reason, but like, he's just here. Then my low group, they finished up Halloween by Todd Strasser. Todd Strasser was fucking everywhere in the 90s, my god. But this is it's like a Goosebumps book, honestly. It's like about this girl, and she's like, feels like she's super boring, and her family's super boring. And so she goes, it's Halloween, and they go get pumpkins, and hers is a little bit wonky, but she's like, whatever. And then she's like, God, I wish my family was like exciting. And then she gets home, and like everything's going crazy. Like, her dad builds a guillotine in the basement. It was fun, it was a fun time. 3 out of 5 stars. And then I read a book that I wasn't expecting to like very much, but it ended up being better than I thought it would be, which is nice. especially since it's like 500 pages long, and that is The 19th Wife by David Ebershoff. And this is the guy who wrote The Danish Girl, which was the movie with Eddie Redmayne in it. But this is about Mormons. So we follow a couple of different timelines. We follow a biography of a wife of Brigham Young, and then we also follow this young gay man whose mother has just been arrested for killing his father. And it's about like polygamy and stuff like that. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked the Jordan stuff more than I liked the Analyza stuff, because Jordan was like, it was just interesting. And he got made a little found family, stuff like that. What I thought was especially interesting was that Jordan wasn't kicked out for being, because he was abandoned out on the side of the road, but that wasn't because he was gay, because he didn't even realize he was gay when he was abandoned. He was like 13 years old. He was abandoned because he was holding hands with one of his like half sisters, and I just thought it was interesting. But no, this was good. It was better than I thought it would be. Like, it really started getting good about 200 pages in, and it was interesting. It's not my normal kind of book for sure, but I do like to I like to dip into all the genres, and that includes dramatic women's fiction. I don't know if I should call this women's fiction. I mean, it is written by a man, but this just feels like the kind of book that you see like a 60-year-old woman check out from the library. I don't know, but it was good. Then on the opposite end of the spectrum, not in terms of being bad, because it wasn't bad, but just in terms of genre and how we're dealing with it, I read Lullaby by Chuck Palahniuk. This is my 4th Palahniuk novel. I read Fight Club, Snuff, and Damned. And I read Lullaby, and Lullaby is about this this poem that keeps popping up at all of these like sudden infant death syndrome cases. And this reporter catches on that like, oh, like this is happening everywhere. So like there's something about this poem that's being read, and so he does an experiment. He reads it to his boss, and then his boss never comes back. He's like, that's what it is. So he ends up meeting up with some other people to go and destroy all copies of this book, and then things just go kind of batshit. I'm not gonna say anything else about the plot. So here's the thing. The first couple times I read books by Chuck Palahniuk, I had not read anything by Bret Easton Ellis. I think the last time I read a Chuck Palahniuk book was a couple of years ago. I don't know when I read Snuff. I know that was the most recent one I read, and it was a couple of years ago. It was a while ago, and this now, after it just reminds me a lot of reading Bret Easton Ellis, but like not as good. And I know that Palahniuk has some more horror connotations than Ellis does. But here's the thing: I think Ellis does a better job of expressing horrors than Palahniuk does, and I might just be coming off as this massive like Bret Easton Ellis, like, I don't know, simp, stan. I don't know what the correct verbiage here is, but like Palahniuk is Ellis light. I don't know, like Bret Easton Ellis is fantastic. He's a phenomenal writer. He's probably one of like the best writers ever existed. God, I sound like a 23-year-old white man who just read American Psycho for the first time and took it seriously. I've never even read American Psycho. Like, I'm saying all this, I haven't read American Psycho. I read Less Than Zero, I read The Shards, and I read Glamorama, and already I'm like this. Anyway, Lullaby. This was good, and I liked the twist, and I liked it, and it was good, but it was just like, it was like after I read Exquisite Corpse, and then every book that featured cannibalism, I was like, I just wish this was Exquisite Corpse. Like, I just wish that this was Bret Easton Ellis. Like, that's what went on. I give it 4 out of 5 stars though. Like, it was good, but like, it's not, I do intend to, catch up on Palahniuk's work though, because like, he's got so much. Like, he's published so many books, and they're all this big, which is nice. So the last book I read this week was the graphic novel for the 4th Animorphs book, which is The Message. It's a Cassie book, unfortunately, but no, I continue to be kind of blown away by these graphic novels. Like, I love how the morphing is drawn. It is so gross. Like, that is exactly right. But no, Animorphs is a children's book series about these like 5 preteens who end up getting the power to turn to animals to protect their planet from, an alien invasion, and it's so goddamn good. It's dark. Michael Grant had a hand in it. I think I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars too. Yeah, it's a Cassie book, and Cassie is the most boring. Currently, I am about halfway through The Warden by Anthony Trollope. I'm not a big British lit fan. Like, I liked Vanity Fair, But like that's about it. Vanity Fair, and I guess technically Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies is my favorite book, and Golding was British. But especially when it comes to classic British lit, like it takes a lot. I guess technically Lord of the Flies is a classic, but I'm talking pre 1900s. It takes a lot for me to appreciate it. This isn't the worst I've ever read, but it's like I just don't really like the British all that much. Like I can sit and read the French for hours. Like I like the French, but the British it's harder. But yeah, it's okay. I'm like halfway through. It's not a very long book. I should be able to finish it today. So yeah, that's where we're at, right? So these are the books I read this past week. That's all for today. I'll talk to you later and goodbye.